Hi, it's Jeff Altman, the Big Game Hunter, and welcome to Career Coach Office Hours. On Tuesdays and Fridays at 1 p.m. Eastern, I spend some time providing no BS career advice to people that can relate to job search, hiring management, leadership, career transition, or advice about particular workplace issues. If you've got a question for me, put it into chat. I'd be very happy to answer it. Or if you discover this at a later occasion and you want to ask me a question, you can always message me on LinkedIn. My page there is linkedin.com/IN/the big game hunter. I'll also mention to follow me or connect with me on LinkedIn at that page. My networks tend to be a lot bigger than most people's, and thus my first level connections add to your second level connections, and thus there's just more information that you get tapped into as a result. In addition, my website, thebiggamehunter.us, you can schedule time for a free discovery call, a coaching session, find out about my books and guides to job search. You can visit my blog there, which has more than 12,000. Yes, you're hearing that right. 12,000 searchable posts about these different categories. So it's all searchable for you. And again, the blog is at thebiggamehunter.us. Go there, go exploring. It'll help. Also, subscribe to JobSearchTV.com on YouTube, or if you want to watch on your TV and your TV works with apps, download the JobSearchTV.com app on Amazon and watch me for on your Fire TV or Fire Stick. And also, there's an app called BingeNetworks.tv that works with more than 300 streaming services. So you can watch my content there. Also, No BS Job Search Advice Radio next month is going to hit its 12th anniversary and episode 2500. Subscribe in Apple Podcasts, Spotify, where it's a video podcast, Google Play, Amazon Music, almost any place you can listen to a podcast. There's content available that'll help you. So I'll just start off by saying in the United States, voting is, in some states, has already begun, and in other states is about to begin. Without telling you who to vote for, I'll just simply say vote. Get out and vote for the candidate of your choice. It serves you, it serves the country. Make a difference, okay? Now, I've got a number of questions I've received already. Again, if you're on LinkedIn or YouTube watching this, put your questions into chat. I'd be very happy to answer. How should I take it when my boss removes my promotion but lets me keep the salary? Should I quit? I don't know what your personal financials are like, but I'm always hard pressed to tell people to quit. I will tell you to go look for another job, because in taking away your promotion, there's a message in that. Now, was the promotion taken away from you because of performance? Poor performance indicates that there are areas where you should improve that might show up in your next job too. Ask your manager, ask your boss about why the demotion took place. We didn't demote you. Sure, when you take away a promotion, that is a demotion by definition. So find out where the areas of improvement were and how they benchmark you for having satisfied those, having stepped up and improved your performance adequately to re-earn the promotion. Listen, learn. If you don't like what you hear, take what makes sense, go to the next organization instead of staying and waiting for them to get around to re-promoting you. And that's going to be hard, because even if you do earn it, this always gets followed around with you. within the organization. So again, don't quit. You need the money. I know very few people who don't. You may be the richest person I've ever run into. I doubt it, but the reality is you need compensation and you want to be in a situation where you also want to learn where you could improve. Do that, take it to your next organization. What are the best ways to improve your personality? Wow. um, do you know where your personality is quote unquote deficient? In what context do you need to improve your personality? Is it professional? Is it personal? I don't know. It's hard to answer this question without knowing how you should, where this is showing up and what the issues are with your personality. Are you obnoxious? Are you timid? I don't know. Different things require different responses. Message me again and let me know in more detail what the issues are with your personality. Do managers actually care when a good, hardworking employee in a hard to fill position says they're quitting? Hell yeah. Not because of you, but because of them. You know, now you may have a personal relationship, and in that personal relationship, the fact that you're quitting may hurt them and may disappoint them. They care. But without that personal relationship, it's all about them and the fact that your resignation will impact their performance. They have to get other people to provide coverage for your work until they hire someone to replace you. A good, hardworking employee under all circumstances is important. But if they can't afford you anymore, if someone is able to pay significantly more, they're going to let you go, feel disappointed, miss you, and all that kind of stuff. So, yes, they normally do feel some disappointment. And, you know, the fact that they do shouldn't be important to you. The fact that you're going to another organization where a firm is willing to pay you what you believe you're worth, that's where the focus should be. I'll just remind you if you've got a question for me about job search, hiring, management, leadership, career transition, or about a particular workplace issue, put that question into chat. I'd be very happy to answer it for you. When your boss says they're going to give you back the remaining time when the meeting ends early, does that mean you can do whatever you want, or does it mean it has to be work related? It means the meeting is over, go back to your desk and get back to work. It's really that simple. Go back to your desk, get to work. That's what they're saying. If I'm asked about a weakness during an interview, should I mention what I do to compensate for it, even though I'm not explicitly asked to do so? The weaknesses question is one of those questions that shows up on interviews. I'll just say, as soon as you hear the question about strengths, the question after that, or soon after it, is going to address weaknesses. So if you're asked about your weaknesses, the way I encourage people, which I know is different than many of you have heard before, is to start off by saying, everyone has weaknesses. I'm no different than anyone else. Heck, you probably have some weaknesses too. So I'll simply say, in the places where I'm world class, there are few better than me. In the areas of weaknesses, when I really focus on them, there are still a lot of people who are better than me at these things. So I'll just simply say, if you want me to talk about weaknesses and then you rattle off 2 or 3 different things that you consider yourself weak at, and then talk about the things that you've done to compensate for it or to improve there, do so. And then from there, continue on by saying, but understand, it takes a lot of focus and energy for me to self correct around these things. I do that, I try, but it's not officially a habit yet. As a result, there are people who do this kind of stuff better than I. And remember, you've spoken about two or three things that uh, are considered weaknesses for you. And you can continue by saying, I try these things, but it's hard for me. It requires a lot of effort. It's a challenge, and I'm doing better, but I'm still not perfect yet. So that's the best way I think to answer it is by pointing out that you, know, you point out that there are people who will always be stronger than you in these areas. You don't talk about anything critical um, of yourself and others. You lay it out as I did. That's a really smooth tactic. How can I tactfully tell my boss that his or her idea will not work without sounding like I'm challenging their authority? This is a great question because it happens all the time. And you're showing the wisdom of wanting to check how to express it to someone before they, in effect, get into trouble. So, to me, the way to do this is by simply asking them to a meeting, you know, a one-on-one for a few minutes. Do you have time around 2:30 today? I want to talk with you about a situation that I think I'd like to understand your thoughts about. So, could you give me 15 minutes? I'm sure they can. If not, then at another time. And also, when you sit down with them, I'd start off by saying, um, I've thought about your decision, and I'm curious what I don't know that prompts you to make that choice. Because when I look at it from my perspective, I don't see how your solution works. Maybe there's stuff I don't know, which is why I want to check with you first. I'm not here to challenge your authority. I'm just trying to understand and learn. So I'll just say the way to do it is in a private conversation. And in doing so, be friendly. And you're not challenging them, you're asking them to teach you. That will work. Okay. Does the term employment gap mean an experience gap, or were you out experiencing something else? It refers to a deficiency in knowledge base. That's what it's about. In some way, shape, or form, they believe you have deficient knowledge to do this job. That's what they're referring to about um, an employment gap. An employment gap might occur, during maternity, during a time where you were not working in some way. So that's what the term refers to. It's not out necessarily out experiencing something else, although you could have been traveling the world in the seven seas. Everybody's looking for something. Sorry, I decided to sing the lyric. And as a result, all it refers to is a period of time where you were not working for anyone. That's it. When someone says they improve productivity by 35%, what's your interpretation of it? How did they measure this, especially when that individual is a small fish in an ocean of other employees? Well, good question. And that's a question for them. I hear that you say you improved employment by productivity by 35%. How did you measure that? Teach me how you looked at this. And then listen to them talk. Are they credible in what they're saying? Or does it sound like BS? Are they hemming and hawing? Especially with junior people, They know that metrics are important, and there are some jobs where it's easy to measure improved performance. After all, if you talk about, I work at a help desk and I improve performance 35% over the typical employee, that's pretty easy to evaluate, quantify, and measure. But other jobs, it's less easy to do so. So start by getting them to explain before you become critical. Start off by having them tell you a story about their work. That will work. And from there, listen carefully, ask follow-up questions. That makes sense. We go to another question. How do you prepare for a job interview when you don't know what the position is? Easy. What you do is you send an email to the person who you're going to be meeting with, and you say to them, I'm on your calendar for tomorrow at 2 p.m. I haven't seen a job description. Could you tell me about the job that you're recruiting for? Almost everyone will get back to you. And if they don't, they just don't want to talk about it in advance. But normally, the courteous thing is they will get back to you. And thus, you'll be able to hear about the job before you interview so that you can prepare, feel prepared, and deliver very well. What should a candidate do if they feel their recruiter is no longer interested in them and has stopped communicating with them? So, when I did recruiting, I run into this regularly. If the recruiter is no longer interested in them, I'm going to assume this is a corporate recruiter and they've stopped communicating with you. The way you get them to surface is you send them a message with the subject line, "Are you okay?" Usually people will respond and say, "Oh, I've just been really busy." Uh, By the way, "Are you okay?" is the subject line. The message reads, I tried reaching out to you on Tuesday, haven't heard back. I did an interview with the firm, a week and a half before that. Haven't heard anything back. I just want to make sure you're okay. And usually that's enough to get them to surface and make apologies and all sorts of happy BS. Do all companies hide their employees' names on LinkedIn? Special. My mouse is misbehaving. Okay. There we go. Do all companies hide their employees' names on LinkedIn? No. It starts off with the profile is owned by the individual who opened the account. It's not owned by the company. As a result, they can't really do anything if you wind up in a situation where they want to shield you from further contact. Does that make sense? They want to keep their employee and they don't want you out and about interviewing at other firms, let alone with their competitors. As a result, most of the time, your profile is not shielded or blocked. That's the reality to it. So if you're in a situation where an employer is blocking your access to LinkedIn or the internet, I think you go public with it. You message internally saying, I don't have access to the web. I don't understand what's going on. And from that, what you're able to do is have access to your record and thus be able to broadcast it or have it available for recruiters to find you. I don't know of any company that really blocks people or hides their names because they don't have access to the name on the account. What they can do, and I know of one bank in particular that has a practice where they say, you're terrific. We think you're wonderful. You can have your name and title and dates of employment on your LinkedIn profile, but no text about what you did. Yes, no text about what you did because we don't want people going out and recruiting you. Okay, so if they recruit them, they might have to lie to stay. That's what winds up happening under those circumstances. So uh, I'll just say most companies don't have people hide their names. Let's go. I'm sorry, next one is it best to be myself or someone else during an interview? I need a job. So I don't want to say this is a tricky question. It's a fascinating question. Um, I believe interviewing is a lot like dating. And as such, you could be a phony date and only reveal yourself and your personality once you join. And suddenly you wind up in situations that you don't find pleasant. That's what happens most of the time. But the idea of being yourself, why wouldn't you want to do that? Oh, I need a job. I want a job. I must have a job. So help me. I'll do anything. And that kind of desperation isn't particularly attractive. Put yourself out there. Risk rejection. Now, if you're someone who's desperate, who must find a job, is afraid that you might be out of work for some period of time, suck it up and do what the employer is telling you to do. However, most of the time, that's not the case. Most of the time, you're in a situation where people want, there we go, where people want to be recruited and employers don't want that to happen. So don't be so revealing, okay? We continue on. Let's see now. Is it best to be myself or someone else during an interview? Yeah. So with this question, do you need something? Like you must have something now. Like I'm broke, I need a job, I'm going to run out of money. I don't want to live in my car. I'm not being facetious. This happens to people much too often. So the goal becomes what can you do to find work quickly? And as such, part of being hired is how well you interview. Connect with the person. Because again, when firms hire, competence is only one thing they look for. They look for self confidence, character, chemistry, maybe a little charisma. Charismatic people always do better than non charismatics. Put yourself out there, risk everything. Someone will hire you. This is going to be the last question for today. And I'll just say the question is how long should you pause before answering a job interview question? Well, you're not going to sit there thinking for 10 minutes, are you? You don't think that's a good thing. And you might just simply pause for a moment. And I'm a believer in just really a moment because you don't want them getting anxious about whether or not. I just tried to illustrate what a long pause might be like. Too long, isn't it? So a second or two, really. That's as long as you really should. And then from there, as they go further, you can simply say, and then talk about the job, what you like about it, where the problems are. Don't take a lot of time and pause, just a second or two. And that's really all you should do. So I'm Jeff Altman. I hope you found this helpful. I provide no BS career advice to people globally. If you've got a question for me in the future, you can message me at linkedin.com/IN/the big game hunter. You can follow me there, schedule time for a free discovery call, message me. about questions you have about job search and the other categories. I'd love to help you. Also, and when you're coming online, put your question into chat. I'd be very happy to answer it. My website, thebiggamehunter.us. Go there, go exploring. There's a lot there that'll help you. Plus, you can schedule time for a free discovery call, a coaching session. Visit my blog, which has more than 12,000 searchable posts. There's a lot there to help. You can find out about my courses, books, and guides. One of the courses is about starting a new job. I think it's called Starting a New Job Like an All-Star. Go order the course. Or you could rent it. Purchase, rent. Either way is fine. And lastly, let's see now. Where are we? There we go. Subscribe to JobSearchTV.com on YouTube. Download the app on Amazon. Watch me on BingeNetworks.tv. And subscribe to No BS Job Search Advice Radio, the #1 podcast and Apple podcast for job search. We've been on air for almost 12 years, almost 2,500 episodes. No show is close to us in terms of the number of episodes, let alone the quality. I'm Jeff Altman. Hope you found this helpful. I'll be back on Friday, and Friday's show is going to be pre-recorded. So I'm not going to be taking questions there, but you can message me through LinkedIn. I'd be very happy to answer them. Have a terrific day. Be great.